Hey guys, hope all is well. Dimitri here, and I'm joined by my good friend Michelle. Michelle has been she's been around, and she's actually helping out acupuncture. Just like one of the common things that we have is that we have a passion to help our acupuncture community, and unfortunately, there are some acupuncturists still struggling. They're trying to create like a sustainable practice, and they have a little difficulty. And that's where kind of me and Michelle can come in, and we can actually help. Michelle recently had templates that were created for social media, and she knows like the value of social media, just like I kind of like try to tell everybody about it. So Michelle, do you want to give a brief little intro about yourself, and then we could go into some applicable tips that we can, our viewers or our listeners can start implementing literally like tomorrow into their practice, so they can start seeing that difference and take it to the next level?
Yeah, absolutely. So I run the marketing website for acupuncturists, michellegrasik.com. I've been writing articles and teaching acupuncturists about marketing for almost 5 years now. And I really love it. It's amazing to get to interact with acupuncturists like all around the world who email me. And it's fascinating to see that people everywhere have the same struggles and successes. It's a really nice community. So I really enjoy sharing marketing tips, like you said, that are practical, they're actionable, and they can help get people patients right away. I think that's important. It's nice to see the results, and then your motivation's really high to continue.
Absolutely. It's a must. And there's a lot of marketing that's very complicated and drive somebody really crazy. But I like the fact that you kind of keep it nice and you don't have to worry about details. This is what you need to know. Just implement it and go for it. And that's when people just start seeing results. Cool. So we're going to kind of go back and forth with a couple of tips. What's your first tip?
So my first tip, and usually it's the first thing that I recommend to any acupuncturist that's new to their area, or if they haven't done this before ever, even if they've been in their area for a while, is introduce yourself at nearby businesses. I think that we really underestimate the power of in-person marketing, and it's not even really marketing, it's just creating relationships with people in your community and letting them know that your practice exists. So I always recommend bring your business cards and your brochures. Just walk in and say hey, I wanted to make sure you know I'm down the street. This is what I can help with. I'd love, to take some of your business cards and put them up on a bulletin board. Make sure you're offering them that value, because then it's feel good for both parties, right? They're getting something out of it. You are hopefully going to be able to leave business cards with them that they pass along to other people. And even if nothing comes out of it immediately, I feel like you're planting a seed that is so important later on. And I think you'll be surprised with people's enthusiasm for what you're doing and the questions they have as well. It generates a lot of good buzz right away.
I definitely agree, because especially if it's a health oriented type of business, if it's a yoga studio or a health food store or a Pilates studio, I do that very often. I reach out to small businesses in my community, because think about it, all these small businesses are coming into hundreds of people, if not thousands of people a day, that they can benefit from your services, right? So that's an awesome tip. That's an awesome tip. My first tip is results. We can have the best marketing, right? But if we're not delivering results, then we have a problem. So one of the things I teach in my course, for example, is not only treating the area of pain, but we want to make sure that we assess and we identify and we treat the area of dysfunction. So if someone has, for example, lower back pain, there might be something going on in the hip. If someone has elbow pain, like tennis elbow, there might be something going on in the shoulder. So I kind of go through how to assess and correct any kind of dysfunction, because that is key. That's what gets patients feeling better faster, and they have long-lasting results. So results is definitely something that you want, not only to make the patients feel better, but the word of mouth buzz that's created, just like you said earlier, that even though it's the slowest way to build a practice, it's it's invaluable. It's like nothing better than a recommendation or a referral from someone, right? So
Yeah.
definitely results is one of the first things for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. Like it might be like a slower way to build your practice, but it's just going to snowball so much faster than other methods. And it's the most like long-term sustainable, right? Like that is what people will keep talking about forever. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
Awesome. All right. What's tip number 2? I'm
All
excited.
right, so tip number 2 for me is a little bit related to number 1. I love encouraging people to collaborate with small businesses in their area. Lately, yoga puncture is super trendy. I think the idea of approaching other wellness-oriented small businesses and basically just saying like, even if you shoot them an email, like let me take you out for a coffee and let's just talk about how we can work together for the benefit of the people that we serve, right? So you don't even have to say like, let's figure out how to make money together. Like approach it from the perspective that you both have something really valuable to offer and you have a certain group of patients that kind of intersect. Right? They're interested in both things. And I feel like yoga studios are an amazing place to start because their clients are already in that mindset of self-care. And they know that it's valuable. They're already willing to pay for it and make the effort. So that's why I love the yoga puncture idea. I've seen so many of my students have like really great results. They get lots of new patients from it. And if you're not familiar with it, it's basically there's like an extended yoga session. And at the end, there's like a 20 or 30-minute shavasana where people are just laying there and you put in really basic acupuncture points and they take a nap, right? And then they wake up totally rejuvenated. It's really powerful. And people just respond so well and then they're much more likely to become your patients after that experience. So any kind of collaboration with other small business, I think is really, you can get really creative with it. You could go any direction. It's really powerful.
That's awesome. I have a couple of students actually that are doing that, and they're seeing absolutely phenomenal results. I have a really good
That's so
friend.
cool.
Yeah, I have when I get treatments, I have my go-to people that I go to. So
Yeah.
one of my it's so funny. He happens to be Greek as well, which is kind of funny. Greek acupuncturist, very very rare, but. He does it regularly and his business is like blowing up, which is absolutely amazing. It's a great
Yeah.
idea. Awesome.
Very cool.
My second thing is social media. Like, don't be scared of it. Use it to build your practice. Use it like a platform to showcase your expertise because guys, at the end of the day, we are experts at what we do. Like, even if you've just graduated, you're way ahead of the layperson understanding their body and their health. So using social media is extremely important. If you're not using it, I highly recommend you start. Now, one of the reasons I feel like a lot of acupuncturists don't start is because they don't really know what to post about. And one little tip, and even if you're using social media on a regular basis, this is a little tip that can actually help you as well. There is a website called Answer the Public, okay? And I've created a little clip on my blog, oakpointmethodblog.com. Essentially, what it is that it's a website. You can put a keyword, let's just say acupuncture, and it comes up with questions that people have asked about acupuncture. So some of the questions might be, does acupuncture treat rotator cuff injury? Just acupuncture treat tendonitis? Is it good for headaches? Is it good for migraines? So these are all questions that people are having, right? Your audience or your target market, your ideal patient has these questions. So you should be the person, you're the expert that should be answering these questions, coming up with a cool maybe blog about it, coming up with social media posts on Instagram, stories on Instagram or Facebook, creating a Twitter post about it. These are all really important and ways that you can, for number one, showcase your expertise, but also give solutions to these people that they're suffering with these problems.
Yeah, I love that. I just discovered that website. You said it's Answer the Public?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And it makes like a mind map almost with all the
Yes.
answers. Oh, it's so cool.
It's
Really cool.
really cool. And then you can have like a tab that you could press where it says data, and then it actually lists each question. So because I use, as you know, I use social media a lot. I post like 6 times a day almost.
Yeah.
Like I have to constantly come up with like fresh material, if you will, or content. Um,
Right.
and that's like my go-to website. I'm like, oh man, what am I going to write about or what am I going to post about? I just go onto that website and within like 10 minutes, I come up with so much content for the whole week that it's like, it's my go-to website right now.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. My third suggestion is kind of related to that. So it is about blogging to improve SEO and to help people see you as an expert in your specialty. I think people don't realize that when you write a blog post you publish it on your website, you're actually creating an entirely new page on your website. So let's say, for example, that the average acupuncturist has 5 pages on their website, like about me, frequently asked questions, contact us, that kind of thing. To improve SEO, it's the more pages you have with keywords that patients are searching for, the higher Google will rank you. So let's say you write a blog post every 2 weeks for a year. That's what, like 26 blog posts or something like that. That's 26 more pages on your website than the acupuncturist down the street who's not writing anything at all. So obviously Google is going to rank you higher. Google also ranks websites higher when they have fresh content frequently, right? So if you're constantly posting new things, Google is going to take notice and say like, oh, this is written recently, people are interacting with it, this person also has 30 pages on their website versus the other person who only has 5. I just can't emphasize the importance of blogging enough for getting yourself on the first page of Google. And like you're saying, if you are already an expert in whatever your specialty is, you know so much more than the lay person who is, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but they're like a little bit clueless about how to really address whatever their concern is. They want to know that you have the answers. So if you're writing blog posts about skincare or back pain, they're going to read it and be like, oh, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about. And then they get to know you a little bit. They trust you more, and that makes them much more likely to come see you for an appointment. So I think that, writing blog posts is really worth people's time. I wish I could convince every single acupuncturist to do it. I feel like it's part of my life mission. Like everyone should be blogging. Please blog.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. And something that just came to my mind is that all these things you mentioned about snowball effect on how, reaching out to the community, the other small businesses, reaching out to yoga studios and things like that. Guys, it's not just one thing that someone has to do in order to fill their practice. There's different avenues, and all these things that we're saying, it's not like you pick one and run with it. What we recommend, and I'm sure, Michelle, you agree, is that you have to do kind of like all these things together. And then later on, it helps. And then later on, you can just kind of like say, okay, this works a little bit better than that, so maybe I could put it to the side. And this didn't do anything for me, so maybe I won't do it anymore. And then really hone in and focus on like the stuff that's actually producing the more bang for your buck, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
One of the things that my students often say when we're getting started, like learning about marketing, is the reason that they've avoided marketing for so long is that they're afraid people are going to tell them to do stuff that they don't like, and that makes them uncomfortable. It makes them feel like salesy or sleazy. And one of my mantras is always like, if you come across a marketing avenue that you just don't like, don't worry about it. There's so many other things you can do. Like, try a bunch of stuff, see what resonates with you and your patients, and then, if it's working, double down on that. I do think it's important to try many things in order to kind of filter out what's working for you. And then I think you're totally right. When you find whatever is working, focus on it and let the results multiply for you. But I would never tell someone, oh, you have to do this sales method like a car salesman or something, even though it makes you feel terrible. Because marketing is consistency, right? You got to find something you're going to be consistent with.
Yeah, and I think what I tell my students is avoid formulas, like
Yeah.
it's not like A plus B will equal C. Like you have to kind of like adapt, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
My third tip is keep it simple. A lot of times we learn a lot in school, right? So a lot of times I used to make this mistake all the time. I used to tell people or try to educate them about Chinese medicine. Like it took me years to figure things out, and it took me weeks to understand what's the difference between deficiency heat and excess heat, right? So I'm just trying to like tell people in like a few minutes what it means, and it would just confuse them. And a confused mind will end up saying no. So
Yeah.
just keeping it simple. I treat a lot of musculoskeletal, but this can be applied to anything really. I just tell people, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to, number one, increase blood flow into that area so the
Love
tissues
it.
can heal better. We're going to reduce inflammation, and I'm going to balance out your whole body. That's pretty much it. It makes sense to them, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. Let's do a treatment. So yeah, keeping it super simple. Forget about not forget about, but don't mention liver qi overacting on the
Yeah.
spleen and all those things. Just keep it simple. Simple is better, and plus it's quicker.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm always encouraging my students to stay away from TCM jargon because it confuses people, and I think you're absolutely right that the confused mind will say no, right? And I love the basic, like, increases blood flow, decreases inflammation, like balances hormones. The end. People are happy with that. They understand it. It makes sense to them. Perfect.
They get it. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, did we go over all the tips?
I think so. Yeah, I did my 3.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool, guys. Well, I hope that was helpful. I'm going to include Michelle's links along with our links on the bottom, somewhere over here or up there. And, definitely make sure you check out Michelle. We're both, doing the same thing, trying to help our acupuncture community. We have different styles and different approaches, but they both do the same thing. They both help practices explode and get them to the next level. So, Michelle, thank you so very much. I really appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. And maybe we could do something like this again for our, our audience and our fellow acupuncturists, so we can just share some of that knowledge and help people as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Awesome. Have a good one.
You too.